the topic that I wanted to discuss, and I kind of just like threw this out there. I don't know how deep we'll go into this. And this is a very broad topic. It's not as specific as just like Battlefield. But I just wanted to talk about like the future of consoles. The Switch 2 came out recently, and there's been a lot of discussion about how it's not super innovative for like a Nintendo console, which has been really disappointing. And the focus on the marketing side from them has been more about the specs of the console, which is something that we haven't
Hmm.
really seen from Nintendo in the past. They've been talking about the larger screen, the higher resolution, the improved frame rates for games. So I kind of just wanted to use that as a jumping off point for a discussion about like our expectations for future consoles, because as we've seen in things like the PS5 Pro, they had a whole presentation about how it's improved on the PS5, and in things like frame rate, like that's more obvious. 30 to 60 frames is a pretty big jump. That's an obvious one. But they would show video clips of like games running on PS5 versus
Yeah.
games running on PS5 Pro. And you could put a microscope up to those things and you could not tell like what the difference is
Yeah.
between the gameplay there. So I was just wondering, like, what would we want to look for, since the graphics in games seem to be reaching a point where they can't get much better. Like, it's going to be hard to market consoles on graphical fidelity because we're pretty much there. Like, obviously PCs can reach a point with RTX and blah blah blah, but all of that, as far as I'm concerned, is like coding on top of the excellent cake that we have right now. Like
Well,
graphics are great, but what can consoles do past that to really get people interested going forward?
I think that the time it's like the increased time it's taking for developers to put out new games, it's what's causing this feeling of graphical fidelity plateauing. Like I think that
I mean, I agree, but I also think that like visuals, while they can get better, we're never going to have like a significant graphical leap again. I don't
I
think
think we
there's
will.
anything that I could see that would really like jump out to me as like a masterpiece, like of visuals.
I think
Yeah.
I think it's about like look at the past leaps, right? Like I think some of the biggest leaps in terms of just visuals come from certain studios, man. Like I think like for instance like GTA 6 of course looks insane, right? Like GTA 6 is a leap.
But it's
Like
not near as significant as a leap of from like, I don't know, the PlayStation 2 to the PlayStation 3 even, right? Like
well,
those are
think
significant
about yeah,
differences.
yeah. I guess like I think that's a huge leap because I just heard someone else talking about that leap, and then also the kind of SNES to 64 leap. You know what I mean? Like I think those are huge leaps, but I do think that like we see the leaps. I think this leap is just taking so much longer to really like come out
I
because of how cross generation everything has been and how long it takes for certain studios to put out games. Like
I mean, I agree, but I also don't think, like I said earlier, that it's going to be as big a leap as we've seen in previous generations. I don't think that is coming or is going to happen. So I'm just curious to see, like, because in my mind, I think the way to go for consoles to be like, hey, this is what differentiates us from that other console that also has, that runs games with great looking graphics, is
mhm.
just how the console can facilitate more unique gameplay experiences. So, and this isn't like me laying out what I want to see, because this in particular doesn't intrigue me, but like the capacity to have, I don't know, 500 different players on screen doing
Mhm.
certain things in like one large space, and like seamless loading of this infinite, well, or like realistically sized planet that people are on. And I know that, like I said, this isn't even like, I don't
Yeah.
want this,
Okay.
but just the capacity to have something like that to create this unique social environment. Like, if I knew that one console could do that and another couldn't, then I would be more interested in the console that had that capacity, something that like really is able to create a unique social environment.
And you're
That
saying
would
that's
be
what you
really
want to
cool.
see from the next generation of consoles.
No, I said like 5 times that.
My fault. That's an example of like how the next generation of consoles could.
I mean, it's just an example of like a thing that would have me intrigued. Like, I'm trying to brainstorm like things outside of graphics that would still be technologically like fascinating
I think yeah,
that would draw players in. I don't know. This is it's kind of just an opportunity to like
yeah.
look into the future and see maybe what companies would want, what direction they would want to innovate in.
I think scale has been really intriguing to me ever since I started to really dive into Star Citizen and play Star Citizen.
Mhm.
Like Star Citizen, the whole one of the coolest things to me about that game is just everything is to scale. Like you start off in your apartment and then you leave your apartment, you go into the hallway, you like take an elevator down to the lobby, and then you have to go through the like little like city area town to get to like a space station. The space station is kind of like a train or like metro subway type system, whatever. And then you're there, you're waiting on the train, you take the train all the way to the spaceport. The
Yeah,
spaceport is fucking massive. You go like you go through the spaceport to the point where you can find like different hangars. You call in your ship to a hangar, you take an elevator that takes you down to whichever hangar your ship is in, and then when you walk into that hangar, the hangar is like massive. It is a
yeah.
hangar sized hangar, and your
Mhm.
ship is in there, and your ship is massive. It is like the size of a ship, and like it's not you go up to the ship and you press a button and you teleport to the cockpit. Like, no, like if it's like some type of like fighter ship, then yeah, you walk up to the kind of like a canopy or whatever, like and you walk you climb up into your ship, you climb up a ladder, like it opens up, you get inside. Or if it's a bigger ship, you literally have to like open the giant doors, walk in, and you're walking through this ship, and like everything is just to scale, and I think it's beautiful. And I think it's
Yeah.
really cool. It does kind of make it to where like if you start the game up and you want to get on your ship, it takes you like 10 minutes. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because you
Yeah.
actually have to travel through all of that space. But scale is something that I would love to see done more in video games. And I think I don't know how much of that is like hardware limitation.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm thinking
Um,
too, like, yeah, it's tough to say. It's when you look, like, so far in the future of, like, possibilities of once consoles start, like, really getting closer to PCs as far as, like, capabilities on that scale, it's hard to say, like, what's viable.
because I think the reason why you wouldn't see something like Star Citizen's level of scale right now is because I'm pretty sure it's a GPU thing. Because there's so many different things that they have going on within those large spaces. Like when
Mhm.
you go into a hangar, there's like people working in there, and so you have to have all of that. And then there's the actual ship and all the different parts of that ship that are interactable and move and like have like that they're just like active, and I guess like I think it's a CPU thing. I
Yeah,
think that like if we have like stronger CPUs, then we could see more things like that.
for you, like, how would you feel about a console coming out in the future that released with, like, the modularity of a modern PC to the
Yeah,
point
I've
where,
thought
like
about. Sorry.
PlayStation was like, "Hey, we've got, like, 5 tiers of graphics cards that you could
Yeah,
buy for a PlayStation, but we know, like, it's gonna run things, like, at a much more consistent rate than a PC can, which has, like, all these different functionalities." Like, your
yeah,
PlayStation is going to be a game playing machine. So we can guarantee that at the highest tier, you're going to get the the highest level of fidelity or whatever, and then having like a lineup of graphics cards, or then like being able to select like the level of, I don't know, RAM like in your PlayStation. I don't know enough
yeah.
about the hardware
No, no,
stuff,
I hear you.
but how would
Like
you feel if like if it was marketed closer to the same way like building a PC was, where
yeah,
you have those that suite of options to make it your own and make it as powerful as you want it to be depending on what price you want to pay.
me and my friends have prayed for that day to come for the past like 7 years or something. Like it's like I would love that. I think that because the coolest thing about it, if you have a console and you have a PC and you're thinking with your brain, you know that your PC, like the biggest problem with the PC platform is the fact that there's so many different parts working like that
Yeah.
are put together that that are not necessarily made for each other. That is like you
Yeah.
can't really optimize the experiences to the same level that you can optimize an experience on a console. If
Hmm.
you made something that
Exactly.
was module like a PC, but still had the optimization of a console due to the fact that every part of it is a custom piece that's
Hmm.
designed to work with everything else, I think that would be insane. Because like
Yeah.
when we think of like something that I want, this kind of goes back to just like the question, and but this is a graphical thing. What I want to see from the next generation of consoles that I was really hoping it would be in the PS5 Pro, but path tracing. Path
Mm.
tracing is basically like full ray tracing.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. It makes
it's
the environments look like real environments, basically.
yeah, all of the light in the environment is being bounced around and simulated. Like ray
Mhm.
tracing as it is, like if you just look at the way that they advertised ray tracing back in 2020, you'd think that it was path tracing, but it's not. Like usually when you're playing a game, like if you play Cyberpunk on your PlayStation, there's
Mhm.
like maybe ray traced reflections and a bit of ray traced lighting for a few different light sources, but it's
Mhm.
not full ray tracing. Whereas like with path tracing, everything is being ray traced. Like so every object is being hit with these different rays, so
Yeah.
it creates shadows and different lighting. So it's kind of like when you like if you walk into a room in a game, sometimes for a lot of games, not everything has like a shadow, you know what I mean? But with path tracing it would. Long
Yeah.
story short. And
Yeah.
there's games like you've seen like Naughty Dog. If you walk into a, a room in Uncharted, everything has a shadow, but that's because the
It's like baked
developers
in.
hand did it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah, it's like it's a lot of work. So like path tracing would just kind of make it where like a lot of different experiences, games, whatever, kind of have that standard of you can look at every little thing and it's lit properly.
Yeah.
I would love it, but it's super demanding. Like even my PC, I can max out like so many different games, but the second that I run into like path tracing, it's like, oh, you can't do that, or you can do it in 1080p maybe, but like you're not running that in 4K.
Yeah.
I would like to see that, and I think if there was like a module, like if I was able to buy a PS5 or a PS6, and I was like, okay, I want to change my graphics card to be this one that is path
The
tracing capable.
$3,000 tier of PlayStation.
Yeah, like I'm getting that. Like I'm buying that.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be cool. I think what I was ultimately like, what my end thought was when I posed this question was that, like, in like 20 years, in
Hmm.
my mind, I think that the if consoles still exist as they do now, as like, something that you can buy and not just like this, like kind of what Xbox is doing, where a console is like whatever you want it to be. If consoles still exist in their current form, I think we're going to see a lot of companies start to shift in the direction of what Nintendo's been doing, where they offer like truly unique experiences that can only be done like on their hardware. And obviously there's like a limit to that, but Nintendo has always developed their games with the hardware in mind, like at front of mind. Like you think of, I don't know, did you ever play like, well, here, I'll just use an easy one. I'll use like Wii Sports. So like Wii Sports, you could not play the the boxing mini game in Wii Sports as it is without significant compromise if you didn't have like a nunchuck and Wii remote, right? Like you are getting a singular experience of playing on the Wii when you play Wii Sports boxing.
Yeah, I don't even think
Um,
they let you play it without a nunchuck connected. My
yeah, no,
memory.
it's not possible. Like
Yeah.
there are ways to simulate it, I'm sure, like if you wanted to emulate it and use motion controls, but the draw in 2006 was that you are not getting this type of gaming experience if it is not on a Wii. And so
Yeah.
I think in the future, like I said in the prompt, like seeing as the visuals in each piece of hardware become more like parallel to each other and the differences are
Hmm.
harder to spot, I
Yeah.
think we're going to start to see companies try and create these unique experiences like Nintendo does and like they did for the Wii. Like I don't know, like in the form of peripherals, like something like Nintendo did, like I don't know, with like the Power Glove. Like I could see something like, because as it is right now, like when you're developing a game, like you have a standardized hardware regardless of what you're developing on. Like, you
Mhm.
can be expected it's expected that you're gonna be playing it, like, on a monitor with either a controller or mouse, right? But I think if a company were to say, "We're gonna go in a different direction," and offer something, like, similar to a VR experience, except rather than it being virtual reality, it's the motion control, like, realistic hand motion controls, like, on a monitor. Like, imagining, like, you're wearing gloves and the movements that you're doing in real life mimic that on, like, the hardware that you're playing it on the monitor in, like, that 3D space. I think we're gonna get to weird stuff like that, where companies are gonna start guaranteeing that the experience that you have on their console is gonna be unlike an experience on another console, and I think the compromise with that comes with, like, the accessibility of, like, games and things like PlayStation and their storytelling, like how do you tell a good story while also committing to such a different style of gameplay, right? So
Mhm.
I think it's going to be I don't think it's going to get as weird as I'm probably anticipating it to be, but I do think we're going to start to see more strange stuff like that that can only be done on the hardware that a company is offering, right?
Man, like it's a really interesting like idea because sadly I don't think that we go in that direction. I think everything just gets more the same, but at the same time I don't know because Nintendo does still seem to like offer the ability to do like they're
I
I
choose to
don't
live
know,
in the
man.
world of, like, of Fallout where they discovered that, like, what was it, like, nuclear power was, like, the way to go, and so
Yeah,
it's modern day, but everything looks like it's the '60s. Like, I
yeah.
want everything to be, like, modern day, modern tech, but all the hardware is, like, 2006 Nintendo, right? Where it's them just going as weird as
Hmm,
possible.
hmm.
I would like to live in a world where we choose to innovate in that direction rather than the, like, singularity of gaming experiences that we're kind of coming to, right? Where everything can be a console and it's less like hardware dependent, you know? But if this is like if I were to really go into like hopefully not alternate history, alternate future history, that's what I would like to see is companies innovating on the hardware, unique experiences side of things. I think it's probably too much of a financial gamble to really for anyone to really go all in on that. But like if
I
I
could
were to
s-
create the ideal experience, like that would be it.
I could see Sony or Nintendo doing something like that. I just don't have the creative mind to see how they like what they choose to do. You know what I mean? I don't like because I think it's really I think something that we've seen is that like something like the Connect, for instance.
Yeah.
Like I feel like gamers appreciated the Connect at
Mhm.
first, but then they were kind of like, well, I kind of just want to play my games.
Well, that's the
Like,
thing, right? Like, that's why I was saying, like, how much is a company willing to sacrifice the core experience for, the air quotes gimmick that they're selling on the hardware side of things? And that's why Nintendo's always been kind of unique because they've struck that balance between the playability of their games versus how much the hardware factors into it, right? Like, that's why I said, you couldn't play Wii Sports without the
yeah,
nunchuck and Wii remote, and that's why like that was so unique because it still managed to cater to a larger audience because of how fun that experience was. So like if you can have a singular experience that is made for a certain piece of hardware and that experience is stellar enough that people want to buy into it on the hardware side of things, like I think it's difficult to see now because the closest we've come to that is VR, right?
yeah, yeah.
And it's been so hit or miss because there are things like motion sickness and like having to be tethered to something or
Mhm.
PC or like
And they're still
compromising
figuring
visually.
it out. Like they're still
Yeah,
like trying to like
but the
nail the right balance of so many different things like weight and
yeah, but
like yeah.
ultimately you're right. Like people want to sit down and like the ideal experience for 99% of people is like looking at a screen and controlling something with either a controller or keyboard and mouse. And so it would take like a killer app to really get people invested into, a certain type of input mode because if like virtual reality, which is like it's in the name, like virtual reality, if
Yeah.
that can't be like widely adopted, then what's it going to take to really get
Yeah.
people into that? And I think it like if we were to go full sci-fi, it would still be some form of like simulated reality without the headache of like putting a headset on,
Exactly.
something like that.
I think that like the future, like I don't see it being anything other than slowly creeping into VR and then like nerve gear level shit. Like, and I and,
Like,
and I have
yeah,
the nihilistic view because I think I know what you're talking about when it's like the world where like it's more on some like just super creative like Wonka type of experiences around every corner when it comes to these platforms. I think that could be like I think that would be really cool. I also kind of feel like when it comes to giving people unique experiences for games and hardware, I've always thought about the idea of having like a modern arcade, like where, in the sense that, like, because back in the day, like the arcades were extra cool because they had experiences that you couldn't really get the same level of at home.
yeah,
Like if you play, insert game here at home, it's gonna be like a much shittier version, like the Atari version of Pac-Man versus playing Pac-Man at the arcade type of deal. And I think about like what if there was an arcade that had all these different like experiences that, yeah, might be too niche to like mass produce on some insane level, but like when you go there you could play this one game or two games using that kind of experience, and it's fun. I think that could be dope. But yeah, I do feel like my kind of just like, I guess, nihilistic look of how things are going to be. I think it's like we're going to be playing games like this until we're playing games like Sword Art Online. Like I
yeah.
think,
I mean, yeah, and I kind of just posed this question as an
yeah, it's
opportunity to
interesting.
just like think whatever direction you want to go in, and I thought it like I want it to be wacky, man. I want it to be weird. Even like if I were to look at something in a more like modern, like a closer timeline, something like could you imagine? Because obviously, when you buy modern hardware, it's expected that you have a TV or a monitor.
Mhm.
But something like the X Real Air, do you know what those are? They're these glasses that output an OLED display in front of you.
Okay.
So it's basically like you're looking at a huge OLED TV screen
Yeah.
in front of you. So if PlayStation were to come out and say like, hey, like you could buy the PS5 or Jesus Christ,
SV.
PS7 or something, and it's actually just this little square that you put in your pocket, and then you put these glasses on, and you've got the highest quality monitor in front of you that you could have, like better than
Yeah.
equitable to like the best monitor on the market, and it will run all your games like flawlessly. Like obviously we're not at that level of technology yet, but would something like that interest you? Like a mobile console as like a pair of glasses that you could see in front of you with like the highest quality visuals that you could get.
It's funny. I had just recently, when I went to this place that we shot at, the skate park slash retro gaming thing,
Hmm.
and the guy pulled out a PlayStation 3D TV. I don't
Oh
know if you
yeah, yeah,
remember it, but it was the one. It was a
I
TV
do.
that looked like a huge PSP. You know what I mean? Like it was really cool, and he had the glasses, and like,
Uh
and you had to
huh.
like turn the glasses on. It was my
Uh
first
huh.
time experiencing that in real life, and it was
Yeah,
dope, bro. And it was like,
that shit was cool.
bro, that shit was cool as hell.
Was
And
was it like the split screen thing that he showed you? Because like the memory that
same
I have,
tech.
Samtech. Okay,
Yeah,
the memory that I have is like they marketed. I don't know if it was the same thing. It probably was,
it
but like
was.
you could be playing split screen with a friend, and you're both wearing these glasses, and on the TV you would be seeing different things. Like it's the
Yeah.
same TV, but
Mhm.
like you're seeing your screen and they're seeing their screen. So you could play split screen, but it's not actually split screen. Like that's something
Yeah,
that's
that
incredible.
was that's what
Yeah,
he had. That's literally what he told us about that. We didn't try
so good.
that out, but like we were playing single player games with that same thing. And like at one point we're playing Uncharted 3, and cuz that was one of the games they had like, ready for it. And what was so cool to me about it was like it wasn't a 3D that pops out at you. It was a 3D that went into the TV. So like
Mm,
it
just
was
like a
more like
3DS.
you're
3DS is like that.
yeah, like it's more
Feels
like
like
you're looking into
super.
a window than like
Mm,
something's coming out at you.
that's
It's like you're
cool.
looking into a world. That was really cool. Like that was super dope. But also like I think like to what you're talking about with the glasses, like I don't know, have you heard of Meta's? I think they're calling it Orion. They're like
No.
they have these like Orion prototype AR VR glasses, and it's like they're like they're glasses. It's not a headset, but you put it on and they have AR and VR capability. Like it's like really cool, and the idea that like I think, but my thing with that is, and I'm just I'm fun police again, but I like this conversation. I'm just talking. I think when that technology is finally, because the biggest thing that like that Mark Zuckerberg was talking about during the little panel or whatever was they got that prototype made and they're gonna keep getting better with it, and they made this whole new tech for it. Like it doesn't like the glasses have like all these different microfibers that, and then it's projectors on both sides that project things into the fibers in the glasses, yada yada yada.
Yeah.
But they're saying that like they're gonna keep on improving on it, but the biggest problem right now isn't really like the possibility of like can they do it. It's more it's really expensive to make.
Yeah.
Like the glasses cost millions of dollars for them to make that one pair. But
Mhm.
when it gets to a point where they actually can get it down to a price that's like a consumer friendly, quote unquote, price, consumer friendly price, right?
Mhm.
I think everybody just does it, and then it's like, you know what I mean? It's kind of like if I think if one company like just starts doing it, then it's like we're all, hey, we're
Yeah.
all right here
We
behind you,
need
bro.
we need like an iPhone moment where
Yeah,
like
bro, that'd be
someone
insane.
like reveals like a phone with a touch screen and it's like, well, that's what we're doing now. Like
Yeah,
we need that. We need a visionary to come out and really just like break things. At least I think that would be fun. But that's the thing. Like technology is kind of hitting a point where people have to get creative with it because screens are as nice as they're gonna look, and anything outside of like looking at a experiencing technology through a rectangle is gonna have like barriers to entry, right? So,
yeah,
but we'll see. I'm hoping someone comes through. It's also a shame that like a lot of like the resources to develop that sort of technology is in the hands of a small group of people who are going to use it like for profit. I mean, that's always been the nature of things, but like imagine if we had like 100,000 Mark Zucker, like 100,000 people with the resources of a Mark Zuckerberg to experiment with stuff like that. That's like Star Trek future. But
no, yeah, I think Nintendo, right? When Nintendo was coming off of the GameCube and said, "Hey, let's make this console that's not really that much more powerful than the GameCube itself, but we're gonna make it this, like we're gonna do the motion control thing. We're gonna make the Wii, right?" It was like it felt like it came from a place of what can we do that's fresh and fun.
yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? It wasn't coming from a place of like let's dominate the
We,
market and make a ton of money and like like it's not like they, I don't know if they could or not, but
I mean,
did
what's
they patent it
what's
per se?
cool is that like as less of an experiment as the original Switch was, like it still was an experiment
Yeah,
as far as like mobile to home console, and it's like their best selling thing. So
that shit was genius.
yeah, like if anyone's gonna pioneer the like creative future of console development, it's gonna be them. And I think like what's so cool is that they can get away with being creative because we know that the software they're developing for that hardware is going to like make the most out of the hardware that they're offering, and the two are going to be inseparable, right?
Yeah,
So we like that's what I'm hoping for. Like more companies to take a chance on a creative idea to create that soul experience that can't be replicated anywhere else. And these companies are so large that they could just get a team of 20 people and throw resources at them and be like, make a Nintendo, like do your
yeah.
thing, like
I
have
I really
fun.
feel like Sony is like in a really good position for that because like they have some really good engineers and artists over there
Yeah,
that can make things, and it's like I feel like they kind of have them on I guess a leash because like for instance like the DualSense Edge is the greatest controller of all time. I don't care what anybody has to say. But and when you go
the
watch like the
virtual
little
boy.
when you go watch the little mini documentary on the DualSense Edge, they talk about how like they wanted to make a pro controller for a long time, but it
Mhm.
seemed it was almost as if they just didn't have the permission or the go ahead to actually like do it. But when they
Mhm.
did it, it's like, hey, like we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, like we're gonna do all the pro controller things, but also allow for all the DualSense functions to work as well.
Yeah.
Like we're gonna get the trigger stoppers on top of the adaptive trigger system that we created. Like I think they could like get some of their engineers to just start working on some wacky stuff. But
Yeah, I mean,
I think
imagine like a controller in the like a form-fitted controller on your hands. That's like what have you there was this technology on Shark Tank a few seasons back that was similar to like a stenographer's tools where it was like a keyboard that was form-fitted to your hands that like
yeah,
you put it down on the desk and you were just like moving your fingers and doing everything. Like imagine a controller like that. It's just as intuitive as it can be, you know.
yeah,
I don't know. Like I genuinely hope and think that the farther down we go, the more these companies are going to have to like prove their how unique they are to audiences and like get more out of the box as we have more parity between, hardware and experiences.
I'm
I'm
not gonna
hoping for it.
lie.
I'm hoping for
Something I also think would be cool. I'm just throwing this be my last little idea. The Zuckerberg glasses, the Orion thing or whatever it was called. They have a link, a neural link, but it's not like the you have to go get a surgery type of link. It's like whatever like what Elon's working on.
I was about to Yeah, go ahead.
It's I think I know
Thinking
where you're going.
hard for
Yeah.
5 hours. Anyway, go on.
It's a bracelet thing that you wear, like something you put on your wrist. It for whatever reason, I don't know how it works, but that it connects to your mind,
Sure.
and it combines that with different hand motions and things like that and gestures.
Oh
So
no.
like I think I could see a future where you put these wristbands on, and now your hands just have like you just have like full control over your game just with
Yeah,
your
yeah.
hands. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I mean,
Like
that'd be dope. That'd be
yeah,
so
I think
cool.
that'd be really cool.
Yeah. Please do weird stuff, companies. You have so much money. Use it to make weird shit. Like I'm begging you.
Yeah,
I'm
I think the
begging
only
you.
thing is like they won't be able to sell it to a lot of people at first, like the first like versions of it.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's great. Like even like the VR stuff. Like it doesn't make sense for Meta to be spending money on it because it doesn't have a large enough user base to justify how much it's costing them.
yeah, I
But they're
think they're
still
just
doing it,
spending so
and
much money
they
just
deserve
to
praise for that. Just for innovating in that
yeah.
space. And I wish more companies would like they've got the money to take chances, so do it.
See, but and that's the thing too. Like PlayStation, I think PlayStation, man, because their VR headset is really good too from a tech standpoint. Like they did a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah.
new things, but
They just
I
didn't
don't know how well
release enough
that's working
games
out
for
for
it.
them.
Well,
Exactly,
they didn't
but they
like
still
support it
had
on the
studios,
software side.
but that's the thing. That's what I'm thinking about because like I want them to try out weird things, but where I would draw the line is I don't want your weird thing to slow down my next PlayStation Studios
Yeah,
release.
well, that's what I'm saying. Like, throw a bunch of money at a small group of people, and
Yeah, yeah,
then if I were to like subvert that, I would say like if you come up with something that is breaking the mold enough, like I said, like an iPhone moment,
mhm,
then you need to put those people on it, right? Like
yeah.
think of like Half-Life Alex, right? Like I haven't played that game. Apparently, it's fantastic, and I'm sure a lot of people wouldn't have gotten into VR it hadn't been for the opportunity to play that game, right? But you need like a high profile, like big franchise release to support. Like that's why every time that Nintendo comes out with something, it's like a
Hmm.
new Zelda or a new Mario, except I guess for the Switch too, because what the fuck ever.
Switch 2 is a bit different because
But
it's just
like
more of what's
they've
already built.
always they've always released the software to justify the hardware, right?
Yeah,
To show that like, hey, like the Switch 2 is weird, but guess what? You can play Zelda on your TV and then you can take it like on the train. Like
yeah. And if the Wii would have been as expensive or more expensive than its competition, like the PS3 and Xbox 360, that thing probably would have failed. I think that's another thing.
mm,
Like if you want people to try out your like for instance, the PSVR is really cool, but no one's going to say, "Well, I'll try it out for
yeah,
$600 on top
right.
of a $500 console."
Right, right.
Like you want people to like you can't even have a Wii moment without your technology being accessible. Like it
Yeah.
just won't even happen.
Or for it to be the only option to experience whatever software you're pushing on it. Like
Yeah,
that's the alternative, right? Which it's tough. That's tough. And I think that's why we're seeing companies like Meta innovate in that space because they're not devoted to a single like piece of hardware that comes around, like every 4 years they're not releasing a singular thing. Like they can divert their resources in such a way that they can experiment a bit. But yeah, thank you for indulging me in that conversation and being kind of
Me?
brainstormy and weird. Yeah.
I'm always ready to talk about stuff like this.
No, I mean, yeah, no. It was
Thank
just
anybody who's
look
listening
into
to
the
this.
hopeful future. Do you want to talk